When a system is stretched so far it's at its breaking point, how do you even begin to build a real path to accountability? Well, today we're going to break down a really ambitious blueprint designed to do just that for Alabama's prisons right from the inside out. Let's dive in.
So let's start with just one number, 168%. Now, according to official data from August 2024, that is the operational capacity of Alabama's state prisons. I mean, it's a system that's just stretched way, way beyond its limits. And that number, it really sets the stage for a crisis that, frankly, demands a totally new way of thinking.
And this visual, wow, it really puts that number into perspective, doesn't it? The system was designed to hold just over 12,000 people, but right now, it's holding more than 20,000. This kind of severe overcrowding is the core problem that this new blueprint is trying to solve. So how in the world do you tackle an issue that deep-rooted? Well, this proposal puts forward a really structured solution it calls the 5-pillar reform blueprint. And look, this isn't about tiny little fixes around the edges. We're talking about a comprehensive pathway that's designed to rebuild the entire system from the ground up.
You know, this quote from the blueprint really gets to the heart of the whole thing. The idea is to embed rehabilitation into every single part of the system. It's not supposed to be an afterthought or some optional program you can sign up for. No, it's meant to be the core operating system.
Okay, so this slide right here is basically our roadmap for the whole process. You can see how each of these pillars builds on the last one, creating a clear, logical progression. So let's actually walk through this journey, one pillar at a time, and see how it all fits together. The journey has to start somewhere, and it starts with these first two pillars, revive and rehabilitate. The blueprint is really clear that these are the absolute foundation. Before you can ask for accountability or expect someone to work, you have to stabilize the person and give them a new set of tools to think with. And this comparison does a great job of showing the difference between the two. The revive phase, you can think of that as triage. It's all about addressing the immediate crises, the untreated trauma, the addiction. It's only after that stability is there that the rehabilitate phase can even begin. And that's all about growth, using therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy to really start restructuring how a person thinks and behaves. And this is a really big deal. Work is intentionally, deliberately delayed. The argument in the proposal is that you can't expect someone to be truly accountable if they haven't first dealt with the underlying issues that got them there in the first place. So during this time, their only job is to get stable, mentally and emotionally. Healing and learning have to come first, period. Okay, so once that foundation of healing and learning is in place, then the plan moves to the third pillar, rebuild. And you can really think of this as the engine of the entire accountability model. This is where mandatory work and real financial responsibility becomes central to everything. At the heart of this phase is something called the universal work requirement. The policy is pretty straightforward. Once you've gone through stabilization and rehabilitation and you're able-bodied, you are required to work. The whole point is to get rid of idleness and start mirroring the expectations of life on the outside.
So why do this? Well, there are a bunch of reasons, and the proposal frames it as smart public safety. The idea is it'll help reduce violence inside the prisons for sure, but it also builds real job skills for when they get out. And it creates a system where people are actually contributing to victim restitution, to supporting their families, and even helping to offset the cost of their own incarceration.
So let's make this real. Here's a concrete example of how it would work. Say someone goes through vocational training, gets certified in carpentry. Well, they would then move into a paid job, earning at least minimum wage, working right there in the prison's own industry, or maybe in the facility maintenance department.
And this table, this is where the rubber really meets the road on financial accountability. It's not just about earning a wage, it's about what happens to that money. Every single dollar earned is tracked and allocated with a specific purpose. 30% goes back to the state, 20% goes to support victims, another 20% to family, and, this is huge, 30% is automatically put into a savings account so they have a financial cushion when they get out.
So all of this work brings us to the final pillars, restore and release. This is where the whole pathway leads, but, and this is important, it doesn't look the same for everybody. The system actually creates two different but equally productive outcomes based on a person's sentence.
What's so crucial here is that everyone gets a path to purpose. If you're nearing release, the goal is pretty clear. Get a real job, earning market rate wages with an Alabama company. But what about those serving life sentences? Well, the system creates a totally different but vital role for them. They can become internal leaders and mentors, and they can earn real privileges based on their positive contributions.
Now, to get them ready for that kind of role, folks on the life or mentorship pathway get advanced training in skills like conflict mediation and restorative justice. You could have a lifer who got a welding certification become a mentor in the shop for the younger guys. They're basically being trained to be a stabilizing force inside the prison, guiding others who are just starting out on their own journey through these 5 pillars.
And at the end of the day, the goal of this entire system really boils down to this one quote. Success isn't just about getting someone out the door safely. It's about building a foundation for long-term stability, making sure they have the skills, the support, and the sense of accountability to build a safe, productive future for themselves.
Which of course leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? This blueprint is incredibly ambitious. It's trying to replace a model of just warehousing people with a highly structured system of work, therapy, and accountability. And the question we have to ask is, can a design like this really reform a crisis that's been generations in the making?